Welcome back to the Foundation in C# course. We are currently in Module 9. In this lesson, we're covering the overview of our application we're going to build. So let's talk through what is this application. So we've been commissioned to create a hotel management application. We need to create a web portal that allows people to book an available room. We also need a desktop application for when they check in. We need to create a minimum viable product, or MVP, that will allow the customer to get going and identify what features should be added later. Okay, there's some important information in here, and we'll talk through it more as we go through the whole wood process. However, I do want to point out a few things. One of the things is there's a lot of keywords in here. Now, as a developer, writing these requirements or writing this overview allowed me to put in some more words. Sometimes you'll get requirements that aren't quite so clear. But either way, you have to look at all the words, look at the intent, look at the thought process behind it, and really understand what are we doing here? What's the mission? What's the goal? So the goal here is to create just enough of an application to get going, to try it out, to see what the hotel wants to do to expand this. So it'll be just two pieces to this. There'll be a website where customers can book an available room. Notice available room. You can't just book any room at any time because sometimes a room is already booked. So the customer is going to select and say, okay, I want a room with 2 beds. And it's going to say, for these dates. They're going to say, okay, we have a room available or we don't. It's not going to say which room. It's just going to say, yes, we have availability or we don't. But that's what we're going to do on the website. The customer will say, yes, I want this room for these dates, and say approve. On the other side of it, we have the idea of when they come into the hotel and say, okay, I'm here to check in to my room. We're going to have to look up their information and do sprints, and we're not going to do burn down charts and all the rest. I don't want to add that complexity here, but it's an agile style of development, meaning we'll do just enough to get something working, give it to the user, and then they can say, I don't like this, and we have much more ability to change things because it's a small application. Once you grow your application, it becomes almost has a life of its own. And so if you decide we have to change this thing, it may be a fundamental change that's way too expensive to do. So by giving it a small application to the customer, even fundamental changes aren't a huge deal. Okay? So that's our focus. That's our mission for this course. Let's look at today's pro tip, which is your app idea is too complex. Cut it down. Complex applications rarely get launched. This is one of the biggest mistakes I see developers make. The idea is you have all these concepts and all these ideas, and and ways you can make your application awesome. And that's great. It's not for launch though. What you need to do is cut your application down to the barest minimum, that minimum viable product. What is it your application must do? Just that. That's what you focus on. Because then you can add features over time. And you'll know what features are most requested because your users will request them. If you decide to make your application full featured for version 1, it's more likely you'll never actually get to launch version 1. And that's a problem. You're going to get left behind. So you don't want to do that. You want to get your application out there, get it used, and get an understanding of, do people even want this? And if they do, what do they want in addition to this? And you can even do it where you release it only to internal people or to a small group of alpha users or beta users. But get something out there and then iterate. Don't try and make your application perfect when you first launch it. It won't be. So when you're thinking about even test applications, cut them down. They're too complex. Make your test applications very, very, very small. Don't worry about everything. Worry about the one thing that you're trying to test or the one thing you're trying to learn about. Okay? So that's my pro tip for today. I can't stress this enough. Cut your application down because it's too complex. All right? So that's it for the app idea, the hotel management app we're going to create. Once you've done that, once you're done kind of thinking through it, then come on back for the next section where we'll start talking through how to plan out this application.